So once again, sort of stepping outside of the boundaries, much like the LA Originals video that I put up yesterday, we're gonna take a look at something that's not exploitation, it's not action, it's not horror, it's not a documentary or anything like that. These are comedies. Yes, Bluntzilla Video does like comedies. My taste varies. I like shit like Grandma's Boy and Silver Streak and Harold and Kumar, like shit like that. I like. I'm very all over the place when it comes to comedies. I love The Wash with Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I love the movie it's based on, The Car Wash. I love, there's just so many good hilarious films out there that have made me piss myself over the years. I couldn't begin to name them all, but two people that have always sort of been in the realm or under my radar when it comes to movies is Cheech and Chong. And we're going to take a look at three films. The films in question today are Cheech and Chong's next movie, Still Smoking, and Up in Smoke. For the record, there's quite a few other Cheech and Chong films I could have been talking about, but these are the ones that I grew up with. We're going to cover my favorite one first, and this is the one that I was exposed to first. So I think with these types of movies, usually the first one that you see is the one that you gravitate towards, much like the Friday the 13th films or the Halloween films, and so on and so forth. So with me, it was Cheech and Chong's next movie, and it is directed by Tommy Chong, who of course is Chong of Cheech and Chong, and he also directed some of the other films. He did not direct Up in Smoke, but Cheech and Chong, they're known for their humor, they're known for their comedy. Basically, you know what? I probably shouldn't start with this because I kind of got to give a bit of the backstory. We will start with Up in Smoke, so I apologize for that. Basically, the story of Up in Smoke is Chong is like the son of a rich person who's like he's a total slacker though. He's wants to smoke dope. He's chasing around his dog who ate his stash, and he's smoking the dog shit. All that kind of nonsense. He gets the fuck out of there. And at the same time, Cheech, who is this Chicano kind of guy, he's getting ready for the day. He steps in a bowl of cereal, which I always found so fucking gross because I was like, what's one of the worst things you can step in other than shit or like blood or something like that? A fucking bowl of cereal. That'd be grim. But he starts his day off like that. He gets in his lowrider and takes off for a cruise. So Chong, who has just recently run away from home, is his car's broken down, and under the disguise of a broad with big tits, he's hitchhiking, and Cheech picks him up and lets him know it's false advertising and all that kind of stuff. But basically they kind of hit it off, and they hit it off via weed. And basically what happens is Cheech pulls out this little tiny joint, and Chong pulls out a goddamn quarter pounder, and they smoke this joint, and now they're hanging out. The thing is, like, Cheech has a band, and Chong joins the band essentially, and during one of their practices, the house is raided by government officials, and they're both sent to Mexico under the pretense that they're illegal aliens. And while they're in Mexico, they come across this place, or they come across a ride back to LA basically, and the ride is essentially they have to drive this van from Mexico to LA. And the thing with the van is it's completely made out of weed. All right, it's unfucking real, man. Like some of the stuff in this movie that sticks out the most to me, like I mentioned before, this isn't my favorite Cheech and Chong film, but I love the whole everything with what the hell is his name? Stadenko, Stacy Keach as Officer Stadenko. He's great. Like me and my buddy Mike would always joke around to talk about like it's turning blue. Like talking about. This is a really good one, man. Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke, directed by Lou Adler, and yeah, it's one of the classic films of the 70s. Actually came out in 78, the same year as Halloween, which I think is awesome. I think the same year as Alien as well, or Alien might have actually been 79, but either way, Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, great film. So now that you sort of know the basis of how their relationship began, I can easily or better explain next movie. So basically, next movie picks off, where they left off. They're buddies living together, and basically Cheech is trying to do his job as like it's kind of, maybe he's a production assistant or something like that. He's working on the Tower in Inferno. He proclaims and all that stuff. But basically, it starts off with them two driving around in a lowrider, and Chong drops Cheech off at work. Chong goes home, and it's revealed that the lowrider is actually belongs to the neighbor, who's like this preppy music teacher guy, who's like, he like lives in the fucking barrio, you know what I mean? And you're a classical pianist teacher, and you live right beside this fucking derelict house that has like gang graffiti all over it, and like smells of dope and booze, and there's just skeevy types running around the place. I think that's out of hand, but basically, Cheech, he one of the coolest scenes in this film to me is Cheech like borrows this van from his job, and they deck it out, and they're driving around the hood, and like I just, that is the first time I seen Cheech and Chong. This was it, man. And I think if you know this film, you could see how it would be very appealing, especially to a kid, because it's rather hilarious, and like has like a really good storyline. Not so much like the final film we're going to talk about in this video, but I just found this movie so good. But basically, Cheech basically needs Chong to leave the apartment for a while, or leave the house for a while, because he's got this broad coming over. So he sends Chong off to meet Cheech's cousin, who's played by Cheech as well. And he's staying at this hotel that won't let him leave because he thought it was like $35 a week, not a night. And it's, the hotel clerk is played by Pee Wee Herman. You get a lot of good back and forth between Cheech and Chong and Pee Wee Herman. And basically they break into the hotel essentially, and Pee Wee Herman calls the cops, and he goes, he's like, someone's breaking into the hotel, and the cop's like, yeah, whatever, and he's like, I think they're Iranian. And then all of a sudden, every fucking cop in LA is just at this shitty little hotel. But at this, like, during all of this, like, Cheech or Chong and Cheech's cousin, they get away, they get all the stuff from the hotel room, they split, they got like 25 pounds of dope, and Chong is like especially protective of this bag of weed, and I think it's hilarious because you get a slew of messed up interactions they go through, everything from like going to a brothel to going to a comedy club, going to this rich yuppie house and just telling jokes, and, you know, smoking dope the whole time like cannons, going to a music store and playing the piano, and, you know, just causing a ruckus and having a good goddamn time. And that's what this movie is to me. I can't believe that I don't remember the name of the cousin, but he's like a real hick guy, and he thinks it's funny because they lose the bag of weed at this huge comedy club where a huge fight ensues. And when they stepping outside, this guy pulls up in a Ferrari and hands Buddy the keys, Cheech's cousin, the keys, and they hop in the car and they start driving away. And Chong's like, man, we got to go back. I forgot the weed. You know, it's 25 pounds of bud. We can't fucking leave all that weed. And Cheech's cousin's like, fuck this, and they split. And they go back to the field with all the bud, and next thing you know, they're abducted by aliens, and that's no joke. And the final scene of this film is Chong coming back to Earth with some space coke and waking up Cheech, who's been waiting all night to see his girl, and he slept through her showing up and knocking on the door. And oh man, ruthless stuff. This is great, man. And not to mention this painting on the front is very Mr. Cartoon-esque to me in a way, like, and especially if you look at the back with the lowrider there, like, you know, shout out to Mr. Cartoon and Estevan Oriol. Like, check out my video I did on their documentary. Great stuff. Streaming on Netflix now. Now, finally, we're going to get to the last movie of this video, and it is directed by Thomas Chong again. And this is Cheech and Chong Still Smoking. Okay? Now, I have to say this right off the bat. When I was a kid, I did not like this movie. I did not understand this movie. I didn't know you could make a movie like this, other than, like, you know, the only thing I could reference it to at the time would be like a Barney movie, how like sometimes it's a cohesive story, sometimes it's like a stand-up act, and, you know, like that kind of stuff. So basically this movie is all about Cheech and Chong playing themselves, you know, with all their popularity, and basically they're invited to Amsterdam. But when they get to Amsterdam, the concierge and all that, they mistaken them for Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. And yeah, that's basically it. It's them loose in Amsterdam, doing everything from doing edibles, banging this nympho broad that's like killing Cheech, you know, being in comedy clubs, telling some of their famous bits. And that was the thing. So that was the thing for me. When I was a kid, like, I knew about Cheech and Chong through Next Movie and through Up in Smoke. And then when I seen this, I was like, what is this? This isn't Cheech and Chong. Little did I know, this is Cheech and Chong. These are the fucking movies, you know what I mean? This is them doing their acts, like The Old Man and the Hippie. That is a hilarious one. Basically, to spoil it, Chong is playing this old, withered up man on the park bench. and then this Cheech comes up playing like this hippie kind of guy, like this gangster guy, and he sits beside him, and he's razzing him and giving the old man a hard time, and basically the old man fakes a heart attack and scares the shit out of the hippie, and then he gets up and he goes, "Scared the shit out of you, didn't I, you little bastard?" Like that kind of stuff. It's really good. And there's like an old this old blind black man that Chong plays. That's like an old harmonica player, which I always thought that was fucking funny. Like in my later days of watching the film, of course, because yeah, it was a little too different for me when I was a kid, but now I really do appreciate it. And there is quite a few other Cheech and Chong films. I know there's the Korskin Brothers. There's Nice Dreams. I think Nice Dreams is the one that if I was to include another Cheech and Chong film, it would have been that one. Although I don't own that one, and I've only seen it in its entirety once on TV a long time ago. But I think that's the one where they're selling weed via the ice cream pops. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man, Cheech and Chong, great good comedies, great films of the 70s, and this is actually from 83, and I believe next movie is from 1980, which it is. So, you know, staying in the same vein, staying in the 70s, you know, this all of the 70s through to the early 80s, I just feel like that's some of my favorite stuff right now. So I really appreciate everybody for watching my videos and leaving comments. Shout out to all the new subscribers. Shout out to the Trash Dash. I know he shouted me out in a video. I'm so. Anyways, thanks for watching. Adios.